Welcome back to Story Hustler, Murder, Mayhem, PTSD. I'm Dylan.
I'm Mike.
We always forget to say like and subscribe at the beginning of these episodes, so like and subscribe,
So
please.
we've now taken care of that responsibility and done our adulting. So let's move on to have a YouTube channel.
Serious conversation.
So are we capable of that?
No.
How you
But
doing? You okay? All well?
I'm just dandy, you know.
You got a job.
I do have a job.
Playing pickleball with your mom.
Pickleball every day. It's
You
the
guys are
best sport.
obsessed. And you're playing ball in
Little basketball here and
summer
there.
league, so that's all exciting.
Yeah, it's been super fun.
Yeah, good.
It's been a busy
fun for
summer.
me to watch, and again,
Yeah.
it's great having you home. So we're trying to get out as many episodes as we can until because I have a feeling that she's not long here. So moving on to somewhere else. But, and we were talking about...
We were talking about the Netflix doc, Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey, the 4-part series that is a deep dive into the polygamous cult that led by the prophet Warren Jeffs.
You know something about, you've heard something about this story, I take it, over the course
it's been
of your
mentioned once
life.
or twice in my house.
Yeah, and it's been real interesting. I did my own very unscientific survey. Lots of people have been approaching me and wanting to talk about this. So it seems like it is being, as shall we say, widely viewed.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me, like very supportive too. It's been awesome, seriously. Thank you if you have reached out. We love the well wishes and nice messages of support.
So and that's what, and it's been a lot of that. And then I mentioned this, and I felt like I was all over the map, and we were having our discussion during our last episode talking about Keep Sweet.
You're always all over the map.
Pray and obey. Yeah, that's sort of my shtick. But I thought it was a really extraordinary documentary that put together. I mean, beautifully shot. The music was great.
Yeah.
It has indeed sort of unleashed sort of a tidal wave of emotion for me over the ever since.
That was an entire chapter of your life, your career. You spent a lot of time, covering that.
I have been thinking about so much of this. And some of it's, still fairly dark and fairly rough. But some of the great parts is it has, sort of reconnected some of us who were involved in this for many years. And we're
a lot of the women have reached out to you.
Yeah, a couple of the women who were involved in the story, and I maintain should be on the Mount Rushmore of heroes for the state of Arizona. One of them I've been talking to is Rebecca Wall, who
is
really
very prominent.
Yeah, she's an extraordinary young woman, and there's just such an integrity and a calm about her when she speaks, from such a well of honesty that is, so hard fought, having been sort of sexually molested herself by Rulon and then getting out, helping her sister Alyssa,
And I think that definitely came through in the doc too. She just had this calm presence about her, and it's like, watching her speak, she just was very
speaks with a wisdom, sort of, and all of that I think the women do that we heard there speak with a wisdom that and I can say this because I'm an old man, far surpasses what their age. They're wise souls, and
they've been through more than any adult at that age.
Yeah,
any adult or person should ever have to really go through that.
And to hear the eloquence of Ruby and Alyssa and Rebecca and Elisa and Charlene. I keep wanting to say their names. I've had a little back and forth communication with Rebecca over the last few days, and she's again a good friend, and I cherish her friendship. But I asked her if she could. I could just share a little bit of it because she has had the same response that being in the documentary, she's now had a lot of people reaching out to her, and I can't read the print.
Mike is dyslexic, so he's asked me to do this.
Yeah, but this is so what Rebecca and I have been talking about. This is what one of the things.
I hope I don't botch this.
The pressure's on. Don't block. Yeah.
She said, "I'm sure you've heard from many since the doc series came out. I have as well, and the overwhelming message is one of gratitude, where they finally feel heard, and in doing so, part of them heals, and isn't that the best part of it all? It's amazing to see things changing for others. I'm endlessly grateful to everyone, especially you." who spoke up for us at a time when others would not.
Yeah.
That's a direct quote from Rebecca about her feelings towards the doc.
Yeah, and
that's awesome to hear.
And that's awesome to hear. And to the extent that I am sort of a figure of history now, and we went over this earlier, I want to, if there is an essential message that comes out of this, as far as I'm concerned, it is sort of one of optimism.
100%.
In that you have, and I really I mean this so sincerely, nothing happened really because any men in this story did anything. You have a handful of women over a course of several generations, and they're the only ones that, they were the ones that were in trouble and abused, and they saved themselves. Nobody, no white shining armor guy came in.
There's no damsel in distress.
No John Wayne figure came riding in to save them. And it was a series, and I think that is such a profound message for the moment we're in today.
Yeah,
with women's rights under assault. You got an insane,
100%.
fanatic religious Supreme Court that is full of lunatics taking away women's rights. And this is the story of, again, a handful of women over a course of, really it was over the course of the last 30 years, and that's for historic reasons. And I'd love to do a history lesson, my history lesson of Colorado City and what I see, what triggered the events. But, you really got some women who got out and for the first time were sort of really pissed off and willing to speak out. And it's just one event has sort of stood on the shoulders of another event, one prosecution. And one of the things that I frequently am now asked when people approach me about the documentary, they say, we see that Warren got prosecuted in Utah with Alyssa Wallace, the star witness, and then in Texas, where Rebecca and a number of people testified against him, and he was convicted and thrown away for life. So other than the prosecution of Warren and the cop, Rod Hall, people have asked me, did any of these other knuckleheads
go down?
And in fact they did. And in fact they did. Warren Jeffs was first charged in Mojave County, and that's because there's a real courageous county attorney over there named Matt Smith, who's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And Matt decided he needed some law enforcement up there because they hadn't had any outside law enforcement forever, and he got my real good pal Gary Engels. And long story, but the bottom line is, with Gary as the one outside lawman in that town for decades, and backed by the county attorney, Gary and Matt were able to put together 8 cases against Warren's followers for taking underage brides. I think I was the only guy that covered all of the trials, and I dubbed them the Colorado City 8 because there was 8 of these fellas. Matt Smith ended up getting, I think, convictions in 4 of the cases. 4 of them sort of fell apart because either the victim didn't want to testify or the guy played the jurisdictional game, saying, it was in Utah, it was in Nevada, or in Arizona. They've used that borderline very effectively to sort of to cover their asses. And hey, you can't prosecute me because this all happened in Arizona. And that's been very useful tool in dodging the law. So, all that to say, Matt Smith got, with the Colorado City 8, he got 4 convictions, which is pretty damn good. And that was the first.
What was the sentence? Like how?
And they were, unfortunately, Arizona juries were not stiff, did not give them real stiff, but they got, at that point, nobody had done anything. We had fought to get somebody to do any prosecution, and the fact that Matt got the 4, my hat's off to him, and he's still a real extraordinary guy. And it was Gary Engels, who was a man who's forgotten in this story. So Arizona charged 8 guys, got 4 convictions. And then after the big raid down in Texas, the state of Texas also charged about a dozen men, including Warren, who went away for life and 100 years and all, and he's in for a long time. But they got significant prosecutions of most of the dozen other men, and big-time men. And Warren's flunky is a guy named Wendell Nilsson, and and it's famous, guys that you see in the documentary, they were in fact prosecuted. And Texas juries, God bless them, were a hell of a lot more hard. They did not dig these guys. They threw the book at Warren, and one of the guys got about 75 years, and they reduced all of them. Most of the guys are in and out now, and they've done just 6-7 years. But it was, so yeah. Texas prosecuted nearly a dozen guys and got most of them convicted and serious in prison time. Arizona, but that has really been the extent of polygamy prosecution, or prosecutions for crimes sort of associated with polygamy. But in fact, both Matt Smith, hats off to him, hats off to the folks down in Texas, because they took it seriously and threw the book at some of these guys. Yeah.
Well, so I guess that raises like an interesting question. Like, where is this community now? Obviously, like
way different.
But like, explain that. I mean, obviously they don't have the complete control over an entire city like they used to. Like, there's a bar there now. There's other law enforcement that are not
we gotta go
part of the church. But
we gotta go.
Like, where does this community stand? Like, is this still happening to young girls?
And I felt like I was such a sort of traumatic figure up there. I felt like I sort of scared people and upset people. Since things have sort of changed up there, got any better?
You've only gotten scarier. I'm just kidding. It's a good one.
Yeah, right. I take a lot from the peanut gallery, but we listen. So the town is much changed.
Yeah.
And the other storyline, and I think that Rachel Dretson, Grace Ryan, and Amanda Morrison, and the other people who worked on those the people I worked directly with, did a phenomenal job. But I think that they would acknowledge that they could have gone a lot longer than they did. They had 4 episodes. And one of the things that is every bit as significant in terms of where that town is today was every bit as significant as the prosecution and imprisoning this pedophile pimp prophet Warren Jeffs down in Texas. Every bit as important was a federal lawsuit, not as sexy to talk about, but a federal lawsuit that played out here in Phoenix, Arizona, just before I retired. It was one of the last big stories I covered. And after, and basically the Department of Justice finally realized that the state of Arizona and the state of Utah were incompetent and impotent to do really anything significant about it. Other than these couple of good county attorneys. And so the DOJ stepped in and filed a sweeping sort of discrimination lawsuit against both Hildale, Utah, and Colorado City, Arizona. And in many ways, this lawsuut itself was a blueprint of stories that we had done, and they sort of cobbled together in a lawsuit. The jury found overwhelmingly for the people who had been screwed. Basically, it was the people who had been deprived of their electricity, deprived of their water, harassed by the FLDS thugs, harassed by the thug police force. Again, this is one of those interesting stories where you really do feel like you're sort of out there without a net, because the cops were not the good guys.
No,
we went
all in on it.
Went up there, and I felt like we were and they knew as soon as I got in town. So, I
remember driving through a few years ago. We were going to, I think, Zion.
Yeah.
And Cole's like, "What if I just, yelled your name out?" Outside the window, and you're like, honestly, you might get shot at. And I was
I jest, but we had a young man whose father was a very prominent man in the community, and I had a phone call from him. It was wonderful to chat with him, and he told me he grew up knowing my name as a little kid. They put up a secure.
They scare you.
Well. I was the devil, and their handful
the outside
of people.
world was the devil.
Yeah, but there were a handful of people that clearly were identified, even as the young people sort of indoctrinated. This guy's a bad guy.
Yeah.
There was a polygamous leader up in Canada, a notorious character named Winston Blackmore. He's probably still around. And Winston used to have this website. He has dozens of children and wives, and he has
Yes,
his whole polygamy thing going up in British Columbia. But he used to have this website where he identified good reporters and bad reporters. And I'm very proud to say he had an exclusive category for the worst reporter. And guess who it was? On his website, the worst reporter in the world. I found that very heartening. But so, yeah, and if Winston, if you're out there and you're still alive.
Those are one of the few lists that you're the only person on that you should
Arpaio put me on a
no-fly.
A no-fly list, which I'm very proud about it. And Warren put me on his hit list. But we were diverting. What happened to the town? The town has much changed.
Yes.
I went up there and worked on a film a couple of years ago, last time I was up there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's because the ruling of that federal jury basically took control of the utilities and, more importantly, the police force, all of which were found to be just wildly discriminating against non-FLDS members.
Mm-hmm.
That lawsuit was probably more important just for the functioning of that town.
Yeah.
You got elected officials, you got people who are not just... Nobody got elected or held office in that town unless Warren said they did.
Yeah,
that's
you were just
different
placed
now.
There because you were in the good
because you were
graces
kissing
of the
his ass. So the town is much different. We got to go up there. They did put a security wall in the city offices with the express reason to keep me out.
Just for you.
Yeah, and I was hoping that they would put some sort of plaque or some sort of plaque on this. Well,
You should go sign it, say with love.
Now up there, they probably arrest me for vandalism. I wouldn't take my chances up there.
It's a good police force.
Well, and I think they've changed out the cops. So one of the things that really changed everything, people want to know more about some of this. The lawsuit, the federal lawsuit, really changed the direction of that town forever, and I think it's doing well. Now it's such beautiful land. It's going to be gobbled up by greedy developers, and it will have its own problems with that, but. You know, and people who are interested, we'll talk more. I still want to name names about the bad guys. I talked about Matt Smith and Gary Ingles, good guys who did something really good. You know, there's so many.
We can dig into the bad guys later.
The Congressman Andy Biggs. I got to get
sucks.
What he did, protected and coddled this pedophile prophet, and he's going to get reelected out in the East Valley. That's obscene. But
that's the world we live in.
But you know, and people who are interested, there's now a library of great books.
I was just reading through all of these. This is incredible. We have Alyssa Wall's book. It's called Stolen Innocence.
Terrific.
Yeah, it looks. And then this is The Witness Wore Red, the 19th wife who brought polygamous cult leaders to justice. This is Rebecca Wall's book.
You know, and this is because Warren forbade the color red.
Yeah.
When Rebecca went down to Texas to be the star witness against Warren, you know, Alyssa talks about staring him down in the courtroom in St. George, and Rebecca wore this beautiful, she's a lovely young lady, wore this beautiful red outfit.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures.
To you, Warren, in court. And she was terrific on the witness stand. Great book. A woman,
terrific. They were all terrific in their job.
A woman
they're just well-spoken women.
A hero, and this take your breath away about her getting herself and her children out of this, and she's an extraordinary woman and a dear friend as well. And then finally, my old run-in pal, Flora, Church of Lies. And,
Flora Jessup.
You know, and again, Ruby is the reason Flora got involved to be a crusader, and now Ruby is out with her family and is a strong, fabulous, lovely spokesperson for and it's just the cycle of life, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know, if young women in this time when women's rights are under assault, people need role models. Look no farther than this documentary.
The array of women in this documentary,
and recognize that nobody came in and saved them.
No,
they saved themselves.
And we can do that too.
Yeah.
And that's an important message. It is. It was 100% the message I got. And, you do have to pull back the creepy crimes and just getting through. It's just gross. It's gross. It's gross what happened. The whole, everything about the situation.
But covering these kind of stories, that will overwhelm you unless you look beyond
find
the
the
terrible,
hope.
and you find the human response to the terrible thing.
Yes.
And these women are the human response
That
to
is
that.
something that I've always admired about your career, is you always talked about it's like not, the horrible event that happened, it's the human response that comes afterwards.
Because
and just like, what if people come together or not, if they solve the issue,
Yeah.
I just
but
think there's
usually
so many...
the human response is immensely noble.
Yeah.
Often it's very immensely noble.
Yeah.
It certainly is noble in this. And again, nobody saved these women. They saved themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't do it. None of these, there's a lot of pretenders who would take a lot of credit for this shit. And they,
It was the women
whatever.
that were inside and being manipulated said, fuck this shit.
Hey, oh yeah, there we go. Can we say that on YouTube?
I don't care.
Hey, so let's wrap. We need to do some other crime. We do our true crime. There's still more I'd like to talk about on this.
Yes.
Whatever.
We could go for days on this.
Yeah, we could. We got to do a couple more at least for you. Whatever.
I don't know where I'm going with life.
When you figure it out, tell me, because I'm still trying to figure it out too.
You went somewhere with life. I said I don't know where I'm going now.
Yeah, right. All right.
Anyway.
Guys, lovely to see you again. And
didn't just spend all day with you.
yeah, well, come on, that's all right.
I spend too much time with my parents.
Yeah, keep sweet, Prana Bay.
Yeah, check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, it's good.
An incredible story
It
of
is.
empowering women, making a difference, and
That's the takeaway.
That's the takeaway, and that's the takeaway that we need today.
Yeah, right on. And so,
Women.
whatever. Okay. And so, peace out. And Warren, if you ever get a chance to watch this, message for you personally, keep sweet.
Yeah. I have some choice words for you, but I don't know if I'm
There
able
we
to say
go.
that.
Can't say that. Okay.
Yeah, but like and subscribe and leave your comments, questions, concerns. We'd love to hear it all.
Yeah.
Share with your friends. Let's build a community.
Build a community. Okay. All right, my dear
One video
friend.
at a time.
Yeah.
Episode 20 down. All right.
Good night, everybody.